So,
Hello, sir. Am I visible?
yeah,
Yeah.
you are.
Good morning, Director, sir. Good morning, Bimal Roy, sir. So, hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I welcome you all today to today's Youth Day program, Inspiring the Youth, hosted by Kritash, the social welfare body of IIT Jammu. Kritash was founded by the students of 2017 batch with a vision to teach kids from unfortunate backgrounds. Since then, it has expanded and now hosts various activities and events related to cloth donation, plantation drives, blood donation drives, and much more. Youth Day is celebrated on the 12th of January to mark the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was one of India's most revered spiritual leaders. Through his speeches and lectures, he tried to awaken the religious consciousness among people and also tried to uplift the downtrodden using the principles of physical Vedanta. He accorded great importance to youth power towards nation building and universal brotherhood. Swami Vivekananda also sent a message from Japan to the youth of the country. Let's be human. He also dwelt on the capabilities of the youth. He wanted the youth to train itself in order to serve humanity. He said, do not believe a thing because you have read about it in a book. Do not believe a thing because another man has said it was true. Do not believe in words because they are hallowed by tradition. Find out the truth for yourself. Reason it out. That is realization. What he wanted from the youth were muscles of iron and nerves of steel. I want to repeat that once more. What he wanted from the youth were muscles of iron and nerves of steel. Today, the youth are exceptionally responsive and they just need to be encouraged. Swami Vivekananda was only the medium. He is himself the message for the youth of India. His teachings will always stay relevant. Now, I would like to welcome our director, sir, to today's meeting. Our director, sir, is an inspiration for all of us. He is always seen with a big smile across his face and who always rejuvenates the energy of the room in which he enters. We request Director Sir to please say a few words on the occasion of Youth Day and what message he has for today's youth.
Okay. So, how much time do I get? 5 minutes?
Yes,
10
sir,
minutes?
the floor is off all yours.
As you want.
Okay, okay. No. I think in front of Bimalda, I won't speak much actually because when he starts speaking, then everybody should listen. Actually, that's important. Okay. Thank you very much. Making me part of this celebration by Kritash. Uh, Formally welcoming Professor Bimal Roy. We call him Bimalda. Students and the colleagues uh, from IIT Jammu. Very happy National Youth Day to all of you. Swami Vivekananda was born in 1863, 150 years from today. It does not look and felt that long. He said, youth life is the most precious life. Youth is the best time. The way in which you utilize this period will decide the nature of coming years that lie ahead of you. Said the great philosopher in him. He was a key figure in introducing Indian philosophies of Vedanta and yoga to Western world. He also contributed to the concept of Indian nationalism to fight against the injustices of British colonial empire in India. He was quite vocal and very assertive, still polite. Though Swamiji didn't live long life, but his short life was remarkable and inspiring. He passed away at the age of 39 years. His life was yet memorable one. His life and teachings are celebrated around the world. And the biggest takeaway from this visionary's great life has been expressed perfectly by a quote by Abraham Lincoln. At the end, it is not the years in your life that count, it is the life in your years which matters. Today, I ask you all to give a few minutes of your day for to his teaching. They are very interesting, and I assure you that you will be enlightened by his views, and strong will bring about the change. On this occasion, on this meeting, I would like to narrate a small story. Actually, I'll try to make it crisper, which I picked it up, the parable by Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramhans, Guru of Swami Vivekananda. Long time ago, there was a village on the edge of dense forest. Beyond this village, there was no habitation, and the only approach road to the village was narrow path through the forest. Leaving village to travel, anybody coming to visit had to use this narrow path. The people of this village were very simple, involved in their daily course, farming. They grew wheat, rice, lentils, vegetables for their consumption, and excess they sold to nearby town. The men always awakened before sunrise to tend to fields. Women also woke up early, clean, cook, and look after the house. The children in the village did not go to school. To them, the task of collecting the cows, then goats, buffaloes, and take them for grazing forest. So they left everything morning with their lunch, cattle and dogs of the day. So it was a very typical village, and peaceful with their own selves. Children indulge in games. They kept an eye on the cattle. At the end of the day, the children and cattle walked back to the village tired and dusty, and smaller ones on the back of the cows. In the forest close to grazing ground, there was a ancient yet big banyan tree. बरगद का पेड़ हुआ करता था. And this bargad tree had a hanging branch, because typically these hanging branch goes down and take roots of the grounds and keep on spreading. Those you have seen in Aurovilla, there's huge trees. In Bangalore also, there are many of such trees. As the years go by, it has several more trunks and keep expanding. This tree was ideal for playing, as it was easy to hide in the spaces, in the roots. Unfortunately, at the base of the tree lived a big and fat snake. The snake was very bad tempered, used to scare anybody who came close by, and it would be sleeping in its nest. But the moment it heard the footsteps, it would slither out of the nest with its hood open. The snake would start hissing loudly and would swing side by side and try to attack. In fact, many have been bitten, a few people, and some of them have died also. It was full of poison. It was venomous snake. The villagers and children kept away from the tree and also warned anybody coming through the forest. One day, the children was playing. They saw a learned man, ascetic, walking by to the forest and going towards the banyan tree. Guruji, Guruji, Guruji. Um, the ascetic was surprised and turned towards them, puzzled face. He did not know them, and it seemed children were calling to him. The children shouted again, Guruji, please don't go near banyan tree. The surprised ascetic walked towards the children and asked, why? I just want to rest a bit. It's very shady out there. The children also chorused again, Guruji, at the base of the tree lives a great fat snake. He is full of poison. He terrorizes everybody and he gets chance to bite. In fact, he has killed a lot of people without any provocation. He will kill you too if you go near. On hearing this, the ascetic became thoughtful, and after reassuring the children, and much of their surprise, started walking towards banyan tree. The snake was fast asleep in his nest. On hearing approaching footsteps, he woke up and slithered out of anger. He opened his hood wide, swaying side by side, with his tongue darted out. The ascetic, instead of showing any fear, stared back at him. With a stern look, the surprise of children, the snake started calming down. Soon it lay on the ground near ascetic's feet. The ascetic asked the snake, Son, I hear you are very bad tempered, and you terrorize anybody who comes near you. You also bite without any provocation. This is not a good thing. Why do you behave so badly? The snake lifted his head with pride and said, God has given me beautiful body, lustrous skin and pouch full of venom. I like to scare people and chase them. It makes me feel very important. I can make the whole village run. The ascetic looked at the snake and shook his head sadly and said, Son, The venom is gift from God to you to protect yourself from harm. You have misused God's gift to terrorize everybody. Surely God is going to be very angry with you. You should understand your power and use it wisely. The snake was impressed and replied, Guruji, I have erred in your words, and your words have opened my eyes. I will try and change my behavior. I promise to turn a new leaf and follow your teachings. The ascetic was happy and said, so be it. I shall see you in my next visit. The snake wished him well and slithered into his nest again. It was time for children to return home. So the snake now settled actually, and the children went back to village and narrated the story to the parents, who were quite surprised. The children on their daily visit to the forest noticed that the snake did not come out of the nest on hearing them. He was sleeping in the sun. He did not hiss or scare them. The village children decided to see if the snake had really changed. They started throwing small pebbles at him initially at a distance, and if one hit the snake, they waited to see if the reaction. As the snake did not react, they started bolder. They became bolder and started sending stones. A couple of weeks passed. Then the children got long sticks, tried to beat him from a distance. The snake still did not hiss. He had promised the learned man. The snake was now losing some weight, and due to his ill treatment, one day the children found him asleep on the boulder in the sun. One of them picked up from his tail, swung him around and round before slapping its body on the same boulder. The snake was now bleeding and had several cuts along the body. The snake fainted and lay still. The boys left him to dead and went back home to inform the villagers. The snake, on waking up, realized that it was weak and hurt. Slowly, it crept back into the nest, lay there to recuperate. The snake was now only came out in the night and fed on whatever it could and lay on its hands. The children were now playing in the base of the banyan tree as they had no fear of snake. After a couple of months, the ascetic returned and was surprised to see children playing near the nest. He called out, hello, children. I can see the snake does not frighten you anymore. He's not troubling you now after I spoke to him. The children answered, Guruji, Guruji, the snake is dead. He died a few weeks back. So saying, the children started leaving to go back to the village. The ascetic was stunned and said, how can this be possible? He was a young snake. The ascetic called out the snake in disbelief. The snake slithered out, happy to see the ascetic's voice. He greeted him weakly. Pranam Guruji. The ascetic asked, what happened to you, my son? When I last met you, you were young and healthy. Your skin was shiny and beautiful. How come you are in this feeble state, looking old and half dead? The snake answered, Guruji, you told me to turn over new leaf. So I stopped terrorizing everybody. On seeing the change, the children first threw pebbles at me. I did not react. They threw stones. When I still did not return to my former ways, they beat me with long sticks. One day, when I was sleeping in my weekend state, they caught me by my tail, swung me like a lasso, and hit my body on the boulder. I fainted, and they left me for dead and cut and bleeding. The ascetic was angry. You fool! You completely misunderstood me. I told you not to terrorize and bully unnecessarily. I never told you to be bullied. The venom in you is to protect yourself, and you should have done that. Bullying in any form is wrong. You have to stay true to your nature and instinct. The ascetic then turned to children and said sternly, let this be lesson to you all as well. Bullying is bad. Whosoever does it, you have to stand up to bullies and not to become a one by yourself. So saying, the ascetic walk away. So this is what is being practiced by Swami Vivekananda throughout his life as well, and he actually passed this message very strongly. So this parable, this story tells us that we should be assertive, but we should not be aggressive in our interpersonal and otherwise dealings. So at the end, today celebrates nation celebrates the National Youth Day on this 12th of January, the birthday of Swami Vivekananda. It's time to draw inspiration and look at what the youth can learn from his teachings. So better their for their own betterment and the society and the nation. My wishes, best wishes to you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a very beautiful story about how to be assertive but still not be
Not
aggressive.
aggression, yeah.
Yes. That is a great message for all, especially because in college also we come across moments where we have to stand up for ourselves. Now, sir, I would like to welcome Dr. Bimal Kumar Roy. He was awarded the Teachers Award in 2014 as well as the Padma Shri Award in 2015. He has done his bachelor's and master's from Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, and has done PhD in combinatorics from University of Waterloo, Canada. Dr. Bimal has served as director for the Indian Statistical Institute from 2010 to 2015. Sir, I would like to call you upon to please tell us why, what is your message for the youth and how we can strive to achieve our highest capability. Dr. Bimal, sir, over to you.
Basically, Himanshu sir has lost the connection, so
Okay.
he's joined again, and
Okay, shall we wait for a bit?
no, he is joined, I guess.
Okay, great.
Okay, so am I audible and
Yes,
visible
sir, you're
both?
audible.
Yeah, you are audible and visible both.
Yeah, Manoj, I lost last couple of minutes of your talk, but I know the story from my childhood. So I'll start my my experience with Vivekananda from my childhood itself.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so hello, Manoj, my not direct, but indirect student, Shujishmita and others who are in Jammu. I think I have two students, Shumit Pandey and Debolina, who are in IIT Jammu now. And also I know most of the faculty there, as I've been there till the pandemic started, at least 2-3 times there, and to spend some good time at Jammu. Also, Manoj put me up in once in a very nice hotel, Hari Singh's Palace. So that has been a memorable experience for me. Now I'm more comfortable in making a technical talk on statistics, mathematics, data analytics, or crypto or security, but this is a different challenge, and I normally don't speak on such topics because I'm not competent. So let me try to speak something which should be a little non-standard. Not that you can, well, probably you can find these things from sudden reference and here and there, but generally people don't know about these things too much. So I'll start my first experience from my school days. Now I've been educated in a Ramakrishna Mission High School. It was a boarding school. When I went there, with all respect to the Ramakrishna Mission, the monkhood and etc., we are given, exposure to the teachings of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Sharada Ma, Swami Vivekananda, and so on and so forth. And as a child, to be very honest, I was after some time I was feeling a little bored. Now, and I thought, and I was probably that time maybe 10, 11 years old. And is that my life going to be in this boarding school, listening to all these kinds of, but within quote, religious teachings, and which I didn't quite like it. Then one day I found out one quotation from Swamiji, which I think every student should know, and that was my first inspiration and my decision to continue with Ramakrishna Mission, that boarding school. This is a very famous school, Narendrapur, one of the top brass schools in the country now. This one quote says that for the kids, even for the youth, playing football will make you nearer to the heaven than going through the other religious means. So he explained, and then I asked one monk that please explain what is meant by this. He says it doesn't tell you that you always play. It says that in order to attain that mental state where you can understand the Indian philosophy, you have to be first very physically fit and cheerful. Then only you can think that you get into the higher ordinates of your life. So playing football, but football is just symbolic. getting into some entertaining, enthusiastic sports activity will make you more fit and also will make you more happy. And only with that state of mind, you can get into the higher level of your life. So that I got very inspired. And I'll tell you the monk who actually taught me all these things. I was very child. I was trying to locate him. You know, these monks, they are transferred all over. I've been trying to, I'm remembering this monk for last 10 years or so, but I was very lazy enough to actually physically meet him. When I find that he's in Arunachal Pradesh, by the time I plan to contact him, he has left Arunachal Pradesh, probably has gone to Coimbatore. So he has been also moving around. So finally, I got a message a couple of years back that he's in a Ramakrishna Mission in a little known place called Kathi. In English, we will Kontai in southeast part of Bengal. And these days, all this web check and web search makes life easy. So I just went to the website of that ashram, and I got it, and I made a phone call, and I told that is it Kontai Ramakrishna Mission, and do Pradeep Maharaj. I still don't know the monk name. We used to call him Pradeep Da. Is he still there in the ashram? He said no. He has become rather old and he's also not doing well. So in Belur Math, they have a special place for the the old and not so healthy monks. This is called Aragya Bhavan. So he's in Aragya Bhavan. And immediately I called Belur Math. I'll come back to Belur Math later on. My association with them. So Belur Math, I called them and I told that I want to meet him. And this is absolutely impossible, because no one can meet anybody in Aragya Bhavan, and especially in time of this corona, there's no way you can meet him. And I said, no, I have to meet him. Do whatever you like. And I'll tell you the connection with Belur Math me later on. So the authority yielded to my strong request. And yesterday only, I went there to meet him. So he came to the lawn outside the Aragya Bhavan and he met me. And I told you that, Pradipda, I remember you. He also could recognize me with some references. He's 80 plus. I didn't see him still since I left my high school, which is about 45 years back. So then, but we could communicate. And he also told me another thing. So this is how I understood Vivekananda first from him. And then another lesson he gave me. I would say lesson because I remember that all the time. And that's a lesson for you all. I think what Swamiji was looking from the youth is that, well, we are a poor country. There are lots of talent which cannot, bloom. So I think he was asking for the youth that as soon as you become little successful in your life, okay, it's your responsibility to change the course of life of at least one more person in the country. It's not helping with money. I think helping with money doesn't lead to anywhere. Just change the course of your life, the thought process, to help another person to establish himself or herself. And if you could do it, Swamiji would be the happiest person, maybe sitting in the heaven. Hopefully, he's in the heaven. So this teaching, I was so impressed. And today was Swamiji's birthday. So I recollected and I told this monk that I still remember your idea about Swamiji. So this I thought is the first thing I would do to convey to the students. So in summary, you have to be physically fit, physically cheerful to enter in the next phase of your life. Without that, he doesn't see much success in your later part of life. So try to be cheerful, try to be friendly, mix with people, play as many games as you like. And at the same time, you remember, because you are all good students, you will be successful in your life for sure. I think all of you. And remember this Swamiji's, this little advice, not financial help, but try to change the course of life of one person in the country. And this is the responsibility the Indian youth should take. So I request you to take the pledge that in course of our life, will change the course of one person's life in my future, which I tried to follow myself. And I told Pradipta that I remember that the Swamiji's teaching through you. And nobody ever taught me Swamiji's view for the youth. So youth are not supposed to go and study the religious teachings the rest of life. Youths are supposed to youth and they have their They have the own purpose of their life. This is the first thing he requested, I think, especially from the youth. The second thing, um, so when he was looking for making an ashram for the monks and doing some activities of the ashram, so he was moving around, and one day he came to now what is known as Balloon Mott. This is on the river bank of Ganga. It's one of our very famous place. And the opposite side there is I think Dakshineshwar temple was built. Ramakrishna Paramahansa was the priest in that temple, and he got his teachings and I think he got um, all inspired by Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So opposite of that, if you come to Calcutta, you can take a boat ride to reach the Balloon Mott. Now the Balloon Mott was a barren land, nothing. And first time he reached there, and he told his other monk mates like Brahmananda and others that this is the place where we should have the place of learning. We should have a university, a college, we should have a university here. And that's how he first thought of a new place. He didn't think that I'll make a temple here. First he thought, and the education will go through the entire nation from this place. So Vivekananda, now we have, I think the name of the university changed now. It is now all the GBC regulation. It's called Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Education and Research Institute, but it was named Vivekananda University. So looking at a place, when he was thinking of a social service, Indian population, he did not think of first making a temple. Temples are needed, of course, but temple or it didn't mean the temple. This is the place of prayer. Prayer could be any way you do it. You have to concentrate. You have to think of the Almighty. You have to think about yourself. You have to discover yourself. That you need a sacred place or a very calm and quiet place. He didn't also utter the word temple too much. But first thing it came into his mind that there has to be a university, a place of learning. So this is what I think the Indian youth must remember, that when he looks at building up an institution, the first thing he thought of about the education. And he said that science, technology will be an integral part of this education. It's not only philosophy or literature. It has to be integral part of. So Ramakrishna Mission, that university is now new name, Education and Research Institution. We have got faculties of science, technology, computer science, whatnot, in addition to Indian culture, heritage, philosophy, and Sanskrit, and etc. We have a complete university there. That was the first vision of Swamiji when he landed in Balloon Mott. It's not Balloon Mott, it's some barren land in opposite to the Dakshineshwar in that river bank of Ganga. And from the very first day, I have been associated with this university as a member of their board of management. So that's how I am a regular visitor there. And in fact, I always make a joke to all the monks there. There are very learned monks there. It's incredible. I think you know Srish Maharaj. So now the vice chancellor of the university, his name is Swami Sarvottamananda. We call him Srish Maharaj. His name is Srish Jadhav. He was IIT All India JE second rank holder, and he went to IIT Kanpur. And as I understand, Kanpur faculty, Kanpur IIT has never found a good student like Srish, such a bright student. And then he was so attracted to Swamiji's progressive attitude to life, and he became a monk. And he doesn't lead a life of a usual monk. He is into research. I think people would know he is in research. There's another monk, Mahan Maharaj, who is at TIFN now. So he had initiated that the youth who are capable of pursuing research, science, technology, they must do it, even if they become a monk. So there is a culture in the Balloon Mott. If you come to Balloon Mott, I can tell you, I can show you many monks who are still engaged in research in science and also technology. I can remember said that there is another Maharaj called Swatipur Maharaj. He was from IIT Bangalore. So he is actively engaged there. You find a whole bunch of sadhus who are into education and research and in cutting edge technology and science. So it's not like, and that was his vision. So I would say if he could think of such a thing way some 125 years back, that this is his vision, that's how the Indian youth have to be addressed. Okay, and he always talked about the religious teachings have to come at certain point of your life. So after you mature, so before you mature, don't get into philosophy. Once you mature, you'll be wise enough to get into the next part of your life. But at this point, you must concentrate on good health, sports, studies, research, etc. That was his very clear message. And I think if Shati Babu, I told Shati Babu, if you want to attend my lecture, please do. And then correct me if I'm telling anything wrong about Swamiji, because it's all on my hearsay. So this is my second experience with Swamiji. And I'm a regular visitor to Balurmठ as a member of the Board of Management. I didn't tell the joke because there is a August academic body. When I go for meetings, I find all of them are monks, only I am a non-monk. So I say, I feel very funny. I'm the only asadhu amongst all the sadhus there. So there are all sadhus there. So the third thing that I came across Swamiji's approach to science is that he was, who is the father of Indian science? Everybody would acknowledge. Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, J.C. Bose. He is considered the father of Indian modern science. And when he came back from, he is the father of this radio frequency wave, and people feel that he should have got the Nobel Prize, not Marconi. But anyway, so that's a debatable thing. But I don't mind because I have seen Marconi's speech after he got Nobel Prize. He has acknowledged that he has used the radio frequency theory of Bose to actually physically build a system for communication, radio. He could demonstrate that yes, people can communicate using this radio frequency waves. But he acknowledged that this is a theory developed by Bose. So when he came back from England and he joined Presidency College, first thing he discovered that he is given a differential pay. The white professor, the British professors get a salary, something, and J.C. Bose was getting much less than that. And he gets very furious. He says, I'll do the job, but he refuses to take any pay. So he did not take any pay from Presidency College that time. And at some point, he was trying to build and then he got into the research on the plant physiology. He was having a hunch that the plants also react to the stimulus. They also have feeling. When they die, they also suffer. Just because they are static, I think people again do a mistake that J.C. Bose proved that the plants have life. That's not true. Even from our old age, even the Muni Rishis knew that the plants have life. But what he was trying to show that the plants also react. Plants have the notion of pain. So he was to do research in a lab. And the British government would not help him. So he was so frustrated. Then one day he met Swami Vivekananda. He was 3 years younger to J.C. Bose. He met him and he was telling him the idea. And then he had a disciple, I don't know if you know his name, Sister Nivedita. And he gave responsibility to Sister Nivedita that this Jagadish has got immense talent, potential, and it must be blossomed correctly, and he would lead India to science. And we don't want this person to get frustrated and leave work. Forget about the British rules, but we have to find some way. So Sister Nivedita actually worked tirelessly to get some fund, and with that effort, some fund was gathered, and then he formed the Bose Institute. And in Bose Institute, when he started doing his research, it's all privately done, no help from the government or anything. When he could actually build that machine crescograph, which could demonstrate that this proves that the plants do react. Plants have the notion of pain. Okay, and then one very famous English literary person, Aldous Huxley, he came to visit Kolkata. He visited Bose Institute, and he wrote a super piece after going back to England. And then British government, recognized him, and he was given fund, and Bose Institute flourished, and he was given the full salary of British people in Presidency College too. But in that his moment of frustration, Swami Vivekananda realized that he is the person who is going to lead India in the next decades and maybe centuries to lead us. And that is basic notion of understanding and appreciating science and engaging Sister Nivedita to make sure that Jagadish Bose doesn't leave, doesn't quit this research. That is going to be the backbone of the research, and you see, J.C. Bose has done it. And J.C. Bose, in his writings, he has acknowledged that it is Swami Vivekananda, his meeting with him, his inspiration, got back him to research. Otherwise, he would have been lost. That was his sense of or love or affection for science that we need. And then the fourth event I will talk about, maybe some of you know, when Swamiji and J.R.D. Tata, they were coming back from London to Bombay on the same ship. So we had a long time to interact with J.R.D. Tata. J.R.D. Tata was very young. I think he was very young that time. I think Jamshedji Tata was still the owner of the Tata Group, but J.R.D. was a young mind, and they conversed. And then Swamiji was talking to me. He said that, okay, now we need entrepreneurs in India. Sooner or later, British have to leave the country. He could see even in 1895 or 98 only that sooner or later, British has to leave. We have to be on our own. So we need two things. We need industry. We need education. So that's how India will progress. So we had a long chat with J.R.D. Tata, young J.R.D. Tata, and J.R.D. Tata was so influenced. And he told that, you have to be a very good industrialist. You have to build industry all over the country, which is going to take the country forward. Also, will employ the youth, etc. But how to get this trained youth would be enhancing the technology indigenously. You need that too. So you must put your at least a big portion of your profit into research, and you should make sure that indigenously you have the research done for even science technology, so you can move forward by yourself. You don't need help from anybody else. And you know the outcome of that? When they came back, Jamshedji J.R.D. Tata gave a proposal. They formed the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore for doing fundamental research. So the entire, and then later on TIFR, initially entire cost was borne from the Tata Group. And being inspired from Swamiji, Tatas, they never take any profit into their pocket. So they have a Tata Trust. Even Ratan Tata is not rich. You see on the list of rich people on earth, Ratan Tata doesn't come anywhere in the list. He's a little richer than us, not more than that. He will take a salary. The entire profit of Tata Industries go to Tata Trust, and Tata Trust spend the money for what? Even they spend a lot of money for sports. I have seen sports academy in Ranchi for the tribal people run by the Tata Trust. And Tata Trust spends all the money basically for research, for science technology, for sports activities. And this is all due to the inspiration from Swami Vivekananda. See, he didn't ask, we have to, well, he was very proud as a Hindu monk. That's true. But he didn't ask an industrialist to make campus fire in the country. So what he was asking from the industrialist to make your industry even stronger and build the research background, and so that the youth here they develop that skills indigenously and support the industry, and industry will only take India forward. Now this kind of vision is unthinkable from a monk. Well, so he was no monk. So I think this was, I was very big. Even if we go to IIT Bangalore now, you would see at the main entrance there is a statue of Swami Vivekananda, not Tata. So Tatas didn't want to put their statue. They wanted to put Swamiji's statue because that was the whole inspiration. And this is something very incredible. Now this part of Swamiji is doesn't reach the youth at that extent. So I thought I will speak a very different thing, and I consider him. Nobody objected to me so far. I claim at every forum that the man behind Indian science is Swami Vivekananda. The father of Indian science is J.C. Bose, but the man behind Indian science is Swami Vivekananda. His vision, his inspiration to people, inspiration to the Tatas is just phenomenal. It's just unthinkable. And also, if you come, you can visit the Ramakrishna Mission, that the university, the notion of university, concept of an university for science, technology, education, he visualized 125 years back. First thing he remembered when he said we have to make a university. Well, of course, we have to make a place for the monks to stay. We have to have a place of worship, for prayer, etc. We have to have different things. But the first thing he told that we have to make a university. That's how he visualized. And well, he's a great thinker. He's, of course, an outstanding visionary. But his vision for youth was not to go for religious life at this point of time. Others may get very unhappy with me if I make this statement, if I understood Swamiji correctly. But no monks ever contested me. I make these statements right and left, that there are different phases of life. The youth phase of life, you should spend your life very differently. Okay? You make yourself worthy of the nation, which takes the nation much, much, much forward. So, but I'll stop with this, and if you have any questions, I can answer. And the other part of Swamiji, people know, everybody reading the books and etc. His religious teachings and his travelogues, his, outstanding literature on him, by him. But I thought for the youth, it's a youth day, that the youth should know what Swamiji wanted from the youth. This is what. So I again re-emphasize that you wanted to remain healthy, cheerful, and take the mission that you change the course of life of at least one India. Let's take that place today. That will be the utmost respect shown to Swamiji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such anecdotes with us. And you also presented everything in such a manner that it wouldn't be easy to forget all this.
Yes.
Sir, also hearing this, that you had such experiences with Swami Vivekananda, I mean, indirectly. You had monks who told you about Swami Vivekananda from a very early life. So, of course, when I was listening to all your anecdotes, there are many questions which were popping into my mind. But I'm also sure that there would be questions in the minds of the other attendees as well. So I'll first give them a chance. If
Sure.
anybody else has any questions, they can ask in the chat box, and I'll be very much happy to ask them to sir.
Let me look at the chat box. Is there already any questions?
So while the students are asking, I'll ask one question myself from
Sure,
me.
sure. Yeah, please.
Sir, since your childhood, you have heard about Swami Vivekananda from monks and many other people also. So while you grew up, I'm sure that you would have compared and seen everything through the eyes of Swami Vivekananda. So how do you think how uh, the youth of this country, some people who are not doing what Swami Vivekananda says we should do, or we are not trying to achieve, or now we are not achieving our highest capability. So what do you think is the most obvious, most common reason why we are not able to achieve our highest capability? What is stopping us from it?
Okay, so uh, I think people are not given the information that what is Swamiji looking from you, looking from you young people. So if you would be, so I think I would probably blame our generation, because the way we have brought up our kids. My son is much older than you all. The way we have brought up our kids, we didn't teach him, the way one should. Most of us didn't teach him the way they should behave. We didn't actually give the essence of the Swamiji's teaching, or what Swamiji wanted from the youth. So I don't blame this generation. So some of the youth would like to get a good job. It's fine, but at the same time, if we could tell that, well, you be successful, but you try to share your success with another person who may not be that fortunate, and change the course of that person's life. I think that it starts basically from the parents to start with. If the parents would have told all of you that you got to be successful, and in order to be successful, studies are necessary, but you need to be cheerful and in good health. So Swamiji's advice that you must be physically active. Playing football is just one I think just an example. it should take as common noun as a proper noun. Okay, and I think the main problem started with our generation, and we did not teach your generation how to proceed with your life beyond just being individually successful. So I think that is the, and also maybe I don't know about the schools. So I have not gone to schools for a long time, but when I was going to my school in Ramakrishna Mission, they were telling me all these things all the time, that you have to be successful. So it's not that you leave everything and don't be successful. You have to be successful. But
Yes,
what is meant by success? So this is not properly conveyed to the generation, and that is, so we like to be successful only and forget about anything else. So that's probably the reason that the youth do not serve to its full potential.
yes, sir. So, sir, that is also, I mean, adding to what you said, if Swami Vivekananda's lessons and teachings are more spread throughout, so our parents and the schools in which we go, they also have a very big role in how they portray a success, how they shape our minds about success. So that also plays a key role.
Yes.
So, sir, there's a question in the chat box by Palak.
Okay.
I would speak it out. Working
Okay.
hard means hustling, but most of the time people talk about keeping calm. Are these two situations contradictory?
No, not at all contradicted. So you need to be both. You need to be both. You have to be calm, also you have to be aggressive. No, so it's not calm when you think, but hustle when you act. So without being calm, you cannot think. And unless you think, you cannot do something meaningful. But when you are trying to do something, you have to be really, you have to be hustling. That's true. So keeping calm followed by hustling. That is the, I think that's the same thing that Swamiji would tell the same thing. I've read some of his books. He would talk about that. So you have to think very peacefully. So unless you think carefully, you cannot proceed to the next step of your action. But the actions have to be, real positive way. And the first step you can do it. But before that, probably, I was telling you, see, I tell something like, when I go to teach, you know, I don't know. I think I see only one or two students. So I never prepare even slides. I don't know if somebody had attended my lecture. I hardly prepare any slides. Uh, so what does that mean? That I have to really do homework by thinking that what is that I am going to convey to you. That is probably much more important than preparing the slides. So I think, but when I deliver a talk, I'm going to talk, very flamboyantly, very with a lot of actions, etc. So this thinking, and you need a very calm way to think. So there's no conflict at all. So you need both of them.
Thank you, sir. I think that answers the question and also throws some lights, throws some clarity to the person who asked the question. If there's any other question, I would be really glad to ask sir.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Sir, this is Suchishmita. Sir, I have a question that I
Sure.
think that Swami Vivekananda was always a out of box. The way we see monks in our society, Swami Vivekananda was always the out of box, and he was a person for every Indian, not for Hindu, but for all the Indians. So, sir, I just want to think that how he is different from like all other monks, because he said that you should play, you should actually uh, like you should actually be confident, you should raise question, which is like very, like it was not very common, which we see in like what the like preachers are saying in our country. So like what do you think that how he is like out of box and
No. So see, so Swamiji had always out of the box thinking. So he doesn't think like a usual person. And when I studied the relationship between Swamiji and Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and he would be asking within quote all kind of nonsense questions to Ramakrishna Dev. And people around would think, why is asking all this nonsense? But Ramakrishna Dev, Ramakrishna Dev used to actually encourage him that you should not keep anything at the back of your mind. You must speak out. So that is going to increase your thought process. And over time, see, he didn't live for long, but when he was even building up this institution, okay, he gave utmost importance into the freedom of thought. I have a joke maybe I can share with Ramakrishna one day that the way the most of the institutions are going is so much contradictory to the Swamiji's way of thinking. And I asked that, well, could Swamiji get into IIT Jammu through an admission test? And what would Manoj answer? He was very smart, so he could possibly get through the admission test and he could get into IIT Jammu. But then my next question would be, do you think he could survive there? And I asked many institution heads, and everybody said, no, he would not survive. Because the kind of rigor, the kind of discipline we are trying to put into the students, Swamiji would not love it. Swamiji is not going to abide by all the disciplines. So he didn't show that discipline. It's not that he became indisciplined. He always thought discipline is probably a little regressive towards progress. It has taken with a grain of salt. Nobody should misunderstand that he's asking you to be indisciplined. So discipline has to be taken with a grain of salt. And being always disciplined may not lead you to the greatest level of success. At some point of time, in Bengali, there's what called boundule. That means some recklessness is required to perform. So this is what you are calling out of the box thinking. So whatever you are taught in a routine way, you have to think something beyond that. And our responsibility with Manoj or myself, I say Devolina or Shujismita, we have to make sure that the students are encouraged with this out of box thinking, even though these are contracted to the regular way of thinking the regular institute runs. So I would personally always encourage that. I would expect the responsibility on us to make the students feel comfortable with putting any kinds of question, any kinds of out of the box thinking, and listen to them. And they may be right, they may be wrong. If you're wrong, we have to argue with them. If they're right, we have to accept it. But not always get into the usual standard procedure of learning.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, I live in Delhi since I was born. And sir, hold on a second.
Sure.
Yes. So, sir, I have been living in Delhi since I was born, and I did not know much about Swami Vivekananda. Even before, especially while while the Kritash was preparing for this meeting, then I got to know a bit about Swami Vivekananda. I had seen his images many times, many times, but I did not know much. Then after listening to you and listening to Suchishmita ma'am and listening to many other people and then reading about him, then I got to know a little bit about him more. So personally, I feel that we are lacking a lot in the way we are being taught about Swami Vivekananda's teachings. Also, it is not just about his teachings. What the things which we are being taught is not even in accordance, is not even in sync with what he said. So, do you think, or have you ever witnessed or seen any advancement in the process, the way we teach, the way education is imparted in our country, where this is taken care of, where the teachers and the people who create the education system or the decision makers keep this in mind while preparing the education system?
Okay, so I think we need different steps. Declaring January 12th as the National Youth Day is a strong step towards that. So at least people know that now they will ask, what is this National Youth Day? Oh, this is the birthday of Swami Vivekananda. Well, who is he? Okay, so people get some questions in their mind and you get it answered. So if we celebrate at least, so I think this was a big step from the government, the declaring this as a National Youth Day.
Yes,
And he meant, so this is the first step. And the second step is, I don't always like to put this into a curriculum as such. But in every school, when you educate, there should be something beyond the regular curriculum. Okay, I remember when I was in my high school, education, beside the usual curriculum, which was taught very well, we were exposed to many other things. But it was easy because it was a boarding school. It was easy to, they used to get us 24 hours. So we were exposed to, even some students would be exposed to music. Maybe, I tried to learn sitar one day, but the teacher threw me out. He said, your hands are no good for sitar. But some kind of exposure. Swamiji was a great singer. He was an outstanding singer. His voice was outstanding. So I think at the school level, beside the curriculum, there must be some effort to encourage such activities. There we talk about, maybe we can have once a week some interaction by some teacher to the students, or we talk about these things like Swami Vivekananda, Ramanujan, or J.C. Bose, the father of Indian science, or Rabindranath Tagore, or even you think of a film director like Satyajit Ray. So there are musicians like Ravi Shankar. So people are exposed to these things, not as a part of the curriculum. Again, you're forcing things. I think you just start something, maybe a couple of hours a week in school level, or maybe even at IIT Jammu level also. Very, very optional, but you have some couple of hours interaction and try to impress upon the students what is there beyond the usual classroom teaching, the syllabus, and etc. And I'm pretty sure this will be success. This is fun. If people can get exposed to some of the music played by Ravi Shankar, you just love it. Probably most of us have not been exposed to. Okay, okay. Just you were given an exposure to some poem by Tagore, and it's explained to you well enough. You just love it. But again, I'm against putting that into a regular curriculum. Then the fun is gone. Again, people try to memorize and etc. So you could have from school level 2 hours of weekly interaction with the students by the teachers, and then expose them to this kind of personalities, what their process of thought, and encourage this out of the box thinking.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. So, sir, I think we should now conclude the meeting.
Yes.
I would also, before we proceed to the vote of thanks, first I would ask everyone in the meeting to turn on their video cameras just for a second so I can click a group photo. I would request everyone just for 10 seconds. Yes, many people have turned on their cameras. Great, this is a great response. Okay, so I'm going to click the picture in 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Great, thank you. Thank you, sir. Everyone can turn off their videos cameras now. Now I will proceed to the vote of thanks. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Bimal, for inspiring everyone with his kind words, with his anecdotes especially, and making this day memorable for everybody. A great thanks to our director, sir, also for the wonderful speech and for gracing the meeting with his presence. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of other faculty members for taking their time out for this meeting and inspiring everyone present here. A big thanks to Suchishmita ma'am for helping us organize this meeting and making this a huge success. And finally, a great thanks to the youth for attending this meeting and for turning on their video cameras for the final picture. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for this meeting. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.